Hello and welcome to Sansad TV. You're watching the news with me, Bhawna, Nayar. As Parliament gears up for the winter session beginning tomorrow, we bring all the top updates related to its preparations. India today remembered the father of the Indian Constitution, B.R. Ambedkar, on his death anniversary. There'll be news on results on Delhi civic polls coming in tomorrow and much more in the next 30 minutes. Let's begin with the top 5 headlines this Tuesday evening. 17-day winter session of Parliament begins from tomorrow. Government to focus on getting important bills passed. Lok Sabha Speaker convenes Business Advisory Committee meeting. Government ready to discuss all issues raised under the rules. Ending terror financing should be a global priority, underlines NSA Ajit Doval at meeting with counterparts in Central Asia on ways to deal with terrorism. World Bank raises India's GDP growth rate projections to 6.9% in 2022-23, confident that global slowdown has much lower impact on India. And on Baba Sahab Bhimrao Ambedkar's 67th Mahaparinirvan Divas, President, Vice President, Prime Minister and Speaker of Lok Sabha paid tributes. Many programs organized across the country. And now some flash news. Prime Minister Modi to dedicate National Ayush Institutes in Goa, Ghaziabad and Delhi to the nation on 11th December from Panji in Goa. India will support Sri Lanka with more investment, says CEO Niti Aayog Parmeswaran Iyer. Delhi High Court rules mothers are the ultimate choice in pregnancy cases involving fetal abnormalities, says medical boards must give in qualitative reports in such cases. Terrorism a global challenge. India's envoy to UN Ruchira Kamboj calls for unified and zero-tolerance approach towards it. Tropical cyclone Mandos to form over Bay of Bengal, impact likely over Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Andhra Pradesh, says IMD. Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan appeals to students to join PM Modi's 6th edition of Pariksha Pe Charcha. Applicants have to submit entries by 30th of December. Mobile phones prohibited inside Mahakaleshwar Temple in Ujjain city from December 20th for security reasons. Aviation sector body IATA says global airline industry likely to lose 6.9 billion losses in 2022, lower than the previously estimated of $9.7 billion. Sri Lanka to resume flight services from northern Jaffna Peninsula to Chennai from next week. Social media giant Meta threatens to remove news content from Facebook in the United States, objects to a new law giving news organizations greater power to negotiate fees for content shared on Facebook. And now news in detail. The winter session of Parliament will begin from tomorrow. The government plans to introduce 16 bills during the session. These bills include the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill 2022 and the Trademarks Amendment Bill 2022. The winter session of Parliament will continue till December 29, having 17 sittings spread over 23 days. The government held an all-party meeting today ahead of the winter session of Parliament, which is scheduled to begin from tomorrow. The meeting was attended by leaders of 31 parties, including Congress, TMC, DMK, BJD and Aam Aadmi Party. The opposition has demanded discussion on price rise, unemployment and the situation along the Sino-India border during the session. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Pralhad Joshi assured them that the issues will be taken up according to the rules and norms of the Parliament. Joshi also listed out the government's legislative agenda for this session and sought opposition's cooperation for passage of bills. Take a listen.
ये रूल एंड प्रोसीजर से अनुमति से और स्पीकर से चेयरमैन से अनुमति से हम किसी भी मुद्दे पर क्यों ना हो हम चर्चा करने के लिए तैयार है। कुछ सुझाव उन तरफ से उन लोगों के तरफ से अपोजिशन तरफ से आए हुए हैं, हमने नोट किया है बीएसी में हम चर्चा करेंगे। चर्चा करके जिस मुद्दे पर, जिस विषय पर स्पीकर साहब और चेयरमैन साहब अनुमति देंगे उसके ऊपर चर्चा होगा।
Congress leader in Lok Sabha Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary said the government should create a working environment in the House by giving enough time for discussion. The winter session of Parliament will begin tomorrow and conclude on December 29th. There will be 17 sittings in this session.
हिंदुस्तान में मुद्दा ही मुद्दा है। सरकार अगर चाहे तो हिंदुस्तान के लोगों को जवाब देने के लिए काफी सारे मुद्दे बचे हुए हैं। बेरोजगारी से लेकर महंगाई, ये सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा हमारे लिए है।
Representatives of all political parties attended the meeting convened by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. Leaders from Trinamool Congress, JDU, Shiromani Akali Dal have demanded an all-party meeting to reach a consensus on the Women's Reservation Bill. After the meeting, Union Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal said that the government is ready for every discussion. He also appealed to the opposition to make the session a success.
नहीं, विपक्ष को हमने अपील की है कि इस सेशन को प्रोडक्टिव बनावें, उत्पादकता भी बढ़े, पूरी चर्चा हो, सार्थक चर्चा हो। बहुत पॉजिटिव चीज़ें भी हुई है। G20 की प्रेसिडेंसी भी देश को मिली है। इस समय इकोनॉमी में भी बहुत तेज़ी से सुधार हुआ है। आप चर्चा करिए ना, 5G का इशू भी है। चर्चा करेंगे तो पॉजिटिव चर्चा भी संसद के थ्रू देश के नागरिकों को पता चलेगी।
Moving on, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval said resources are the lifeblood of terrorism, calling for joint efforts to counter terror financing. He was addressing the inaugural India Central Asia meeting of National Security Advisors. Doval also said all UN member states should refrain from providing any form of support to entities or persons involved in terrorist activities. Describing Central Asia as India's extended neighborhood, Doval said New Delhi accords highest priority to this region. He also said that Afghanistan is an important issue concerning Central Asia. He also said that connectivity with Central Asian countries remained a key priority for India. The NSAs of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan are attending the conclave, while Turkmenistan is being represented by its ambassador to India.
India's concerns and objectives with regard to immediate priorities and the way forward are similar to those of many of us around the table. The persistence of terrorist networks in the region, including in Afghanistan, is also a matter of deep concern. Financing is the lifeblood of terrorism, and countering terror financing should be an equal priority for all of us.
Moving on to other important stories now, Union Home Secretary Ajay Bhalla reviewed the security situation in Jammu and Kashmir today. The meeting was attended by other senior officials of the ministry, paramilitary forces, the Jammu and Kashmir administration and police. The meeting came amid reports that people from the Kashmiri Pandit community are in a state of panic as the resistance front, an offshoot of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, warned of mounting attacks on them. There have been sporadic incidents of violence in Jammu and Kashmir in recent months that include attacks on innocent civilians, security personnel and infiltration bids from across the border. About 65% voting has been recorded in the 182 seats of the Gujarat Legislative Assembly. Voting was held on 89 assembly seats in the first phase on 1st December, in which 63.31% polling was recorded. In the second and last phase, voting was held on 93 seats yesterday, in which 65.22% voter turnout was recorded. Gujarat has a total of 182 assembly seats. In the 2017 assembly elections, a voter turnout of 68.41% was recorded. The counting of votes will take place on December 8th. All preparations are in place for tomorrow's counting of votes for the MCD elections in Delhi. Counting will begin at 8 a.m. under tight security arrangements. 20 companies of paramilitary personnel and over 10,000 Delhi police officials have been deployed at the 42 counting centres. Besides the counting centres, heavy police presence will also be ensured outside the offices of political parties. Elections to the 250-ward Municipal Corporation of Delhi were held on December 4th, in which 50.48% polling was recorded. 1,349 candidates are in the fray for 250 wards in the MCD. There is a triangular contest between the Aam Aadmi Party, the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Congress in the municipal elections. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla said the Institute of Liver and Biliary Sciences is the only institute in the world which has carved a niche for itself in the field of liver treatment. He was addressing 8th convocation ceremony of the Institute of Liver and Biliary Sciences. He said that there is a convergence of education, research and treatment at this institute. He expressed happiness over the youth of the country carrying out research and innovations. Lok Sabha Speaker said liver transplant is a serious problem in the country today, with more than 2 lakh liver transplant patients on the waiting list. He also said that it is the duty of the society to encourage people for organ donation. Take a listen.
कि हमें इन बदलते स्वरूपों के अंदर बदलती बीमारियों के संक्रमण के कारण हमारी रिसर्च को हमारे नए इनोवेशन को हमें उसी तरीके से तेजी से काम करना पड़ेगा। मुझे खुशी है भारत का नौजवान जो बौद्धिक क्षमता से नए इनोवेशन, नए रिसर्च के अंदर भारत में भी दुनिया के अंदर भी काम कर रहा है और एक बेहतर इनोवेशन रिसर्च के माध्यम से उन चुनौतियों का समाधान भी दे रहा है।
The nation paid tribute to Bharat Ratna Baba Saheb Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar on his 67th Mahaparinirvan Divas. President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar and Prime Minister Modi paid homage to Chief Architect of Indian Constitution at Parliament House Complex in Delhi. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Pralhad Joshi, Congress leaders Sonia Gandhi and Mallikarjun Kharge also paid tributes to Baba Saheb. Remembering Dr. Ambedkar for his exemplary service to the nation, Prime Minister Modi said, Baba Saheb's struggle instilled hope in millions of people and his efforts gave India a comprehensive constitution. And time now for a look at some more news from across the nation. The Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar today emphasized the importance of transparency and accountability in the system for the progress of a nation. Addressing the officers trainees of the 75th batch of Indian Revenue Service, officers at UPA Rashtrapati Niwas, he said that the best way to make a person succeed is to make him accountable, and opacity is a sure way to bring degeneration. An improvised explosive device was recovered in South Kashmir's Shopian district, Jammu and Kashmir police said on Tuesday. A top police officer said a joint team of police and army recovered the IED in the Shirmal area of Shopian. The police suspect the IED to be a part of a terror attack plot. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock saw a demonstration on the working of the electronic voting machine. Pictures released by the ECI showed Baerbock casting a vote as EC officials guided her through the process. The ECI has called for closer cooperation among electoral authorities of both countries and strengthening democratic institutions and processes. Fitch Ratings retained the economic growth forecast for India at 7% for the current fiscal in its global economic outlook. The rating agency said India is likely to emerge as the fastest growing emerging markets. At the same time, the agency slashed down projections for the next 2 fiscals, observing that while insulated from global shocks, the Indian economy is not immune to global developments. India's ambassador to the United States, Taranjeet Singh Sandhu, met Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella in Seattle and discussed the software giant's work in India, including in education technology, healthcare and entrepreneurship sectors. In October, Nadella was presented with the prestigious Padma Bhushan by India's Consul General in San Francisco, Dr. T.V. Nagendra Prasad. And news now from the world of business and economy. The World Bank upgraded India's growth forecast for India to 6.9% for 2022-23, while commending the resilience of Indian economy despite global shocks. This is the first upgrade of India's growth forecast by any international agency in recent times. The World Bank earlier projected the economy to grow at around 6.5% in its report in November. India's thermal power generation grew over 16% to 87,687 million units in November compared to 75,412 million units in the same period last year. While the production of Coal India increased by 12.8% in November, the output of Singarani Collieries Company Limited rose by 7%. The G20 Sherpa meet in Udaipur commenced key initiatives in digital public infrastructure like UPI, direct benefit transfer, Co-Win app. India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant said G20 developing economies are seeking to replicate India's innovative steps in the coming years. And talking about Sensex now, the BSE Sensex dropped over 200 points while NSE Nifty slipped 58 points after weak global cues. At the close of trade, the BSE index was at 62,626, while NSE closed at 18,642 points. Stocks including Nestle, Ultratech Cement, Hindustan Unilever made marginal gains, while Dr. Reddy's, TCS, Tata Steel, SBI and HCL were among major losers. And now about global markets. Global markets were trending in the red as stocks across Asia, Europe and the United States suffered huge losses. Nasdaq lost nearly 2%, while Taiwan, Kospi and Hang Seng lost between 1 to 1.6%. Slipping into a very short break here, lots more coming up on the other side. You stay tuned to Sansad TV for more news.
Nature and You, the Environment Series. Aim is to awake and aware people to protect our environment, be it climate or wildlife crisis, depletion of ocean resources, waste management issues. Only on Sansad TV.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching the news and now take a look at all the latest from the Russia-Ukraine war front. Russia said on Monday that 3 of its military personnel were killed and 4 others wounded in Ukrainian drone attacks on 2 Russian air bases hundreds of miles from the front lines. One of the targets in Angels Air Base near the city of Saratov houses bomber planes that are part of Russia's strategic nuclear forces. Russia's RIA news agency said that the 3 deaths occurred at the airbase in the Ryazan, 185 kilometers southeast of Moscow. Ukraine did not directly claim responsibility. The attacks were the deepest military strikes it has conducted inside the Russian heartland since the start of the conflict. In retaliation, Russia fired a barrage of missiles on Ukraine's critical infrastructure, knocking out basic services in several regions. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said 4 people were killed in Monday's attacks. Ukraine's Air Force claimed that it shot down more than 60 of the 70 missiles. The strikes plunged part of Ukraine back into freezing darkness, with temperatures nationwide now firmly below zero. However, Kyiv said that its air defenses limited the damage. The airstrikes also destroyed homes in southeast Ukraine. United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk had to meet with human rights activists in a bunker in Kiev on Monday as Russia unleashes airstrikes across Ukraine. The commissioner commented that the air raids have become almost a new normal for the people of Ukraine and it has to stop. Montenegro has become the 3rd NATO member to officially back Kiev's call for a speedy accession to the alliance. Speaking via video conference, Ukrainian President Zelensky thanked Montenegrin Prime Minister for his support. Belgium and the Czech Republic to back Ukraine's aspirations to join NATO and the European Union on an accelerated path. The Kremlin said today that it does not see any prospect of negotiations with Ukraine at the moment. However, he added that he agreed with the United States about the need for lasting peace in Ukraine. He further said that in order for talks to happen with potential partners, Russia would need to fulfill the goals of special military operation. Earlier on Monday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said in an interview that the conflict in Ukraine would end almost certainly with diplomacy and negotiations. And time now for more news from across the globe. Angry demonstrations turned violent in Mongolia's capital city of Ulaanbaatar on Monday as protesters braved sub-zero temperatures to storm the country's main parliament building, following allegations of corruption among government officials. Take a look in this next report.
Protesters, angered by allegations of corruption linked to Mongolia's coal trade with China, stormed the state palace in the capital, demanding the dismissal of officials involved in the scandal. The U.S. Embassy in Ulaanbaatar issued an alert saying that several hundred protesters had gathered in the freezing cold in the city's Sukhbatar Square during the weekend and marched to the presidential residence. The demonstrators were demanding that the government investigate claims that 385,000 tons of coal were stolen from stockpiles of Mongolia's border with China. The allegations center on coal from mines controlled by Erdenes Tavan Tolgoi, that local media reports said has been placed under state supervision as an investigation is conducted by the government's independent authority against corruption. Foreign sales of Mongolia's vast mineral wealth, coal and other resources have been a source of conflict in the country. Adding to the frustrations, the pandemic has left many Mongolians struggling to make ends meet, with inflation topping 15%. In April too, thousands of young protesters demonstrated in Sukhbatar Square. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And in news from other parts of the world in a World Brief section. A video released on Tuesday showed protesters blocking busy roads and setting fire to objects in the Iranian northeast city of Mashhad. Iranian shops shut their doors in several cities on Monday following calls for a 3-day nationwide strike from protesters seeking the fall of clerical rulers, while the head of the judiciary blamed that what he called rioters for threatening shopkeepers. Iran has been rocked by nationwide unrest following the death of Iranian Kurdish women Mahsa Amini in September in police custody. At least 7 people were killed on Tuesday when a blast hit a vehicle carrying oil workers in northern Afghanistan. The explosion struck a bus which belonged to a Hairatan oil employee, said a police spokesperson for the northern province of Balkh, adding that at least 6 people were wounded. The cause of the blast was not immediately clear, and police said investigations are ongoing. Chinese President Xi Jinping paid tribute to former leader Jiang Zemin on Tuesday for ensuring the Communist Party's survival from political storms and reforming it to inject new vitality and modernize the country's economy. Xi, describing Jiang's death as an incalculable loss, said the countries must turn grief into strength and use his legacy to write a new chapter in the party's development. Indonesia's parliament unanimously passed a long-awaited revision of the country's penal code on Tuesday that criminalizes sex outside of marriage for citizens as well as foreigners, prohibits promotion of contraception and bans defamation of the president and state institutions. The amended code also expands an existing blasphemy law and maintains a 5-year prison term for deviations from the central tenets of Indonesia's 6 recognized religions: Islam, Protestantism, Catholicism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. Beijing further adjusted its COVID-19 response policies effective on Tuesday, with residents now able to enter certain public places without having to show proof of negative COVID test. According to the municipal government, starting Tuesday, residents entering public places including supermarkets and office buildings only need to scan the health QR code. No proof of negative COVID test are required. sensitive institutions and major events can tailor their COVID-19 prevention and control measures according to the specific needs. And now let's see what's happening in the field of sports. India take on Bangladesh in the second and potentially decisive ODI against Bangladesh at Mirpur on Wednesday. Bangladesh lead 3-match series 1-0. Rohit Sharma's men need a win to take the series to the third match. With PV Sindhu sidelined by the injury, HS Prannoy emerges as India's lone representative at the year-ending BWF World Tour Finals starting on Wednesday. Japan knocked out of the FIFA World Cup on penalties. Match with Croatia ends 1-1 after regulation and extra time. Goalkeeper Dominik Livakovic saved 3 penalties in Croatia 3-1 in shootout. Brazil scored 4 goals in half an hour to breeze past South Korea 4-1 in the pre-quarterfinals. Vinicius Jr., Neymar Jr., Richarlison and Lucas Paqueta find the back of the net as the 5-time champions put on scintillating first-half performance. The penultimate World Cup 2022 last 16 battle is underway at the Education City Stadium in Al Rayyan between the 2010 champions Spain and Morocco. UEFA Euro 2016 champions Portugal will later in the night try to secure their third ever World Cup quarter-finals as they face Switzerland. And with that, it's a wrap of today's bulletin. Keep watching Sansad TV for more news and updates round the clock. Thank you for being there. Good night. Namaskar.